welcome to our podcast. We're going to talk today with Stephanie about pad splits. So, if you'd like to tell us how you got into it and a little bit about you.
Yeah, I have I think like many others, I got a hold of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad and went down that rabbit hole and haven't stopped since. And my that was about a year and a half, well, no, 2 years ago now that I read his book. And early last year, I um, signed up for Pace Sub 2, and I had seen the YouTube videos and all of that, and I joined another mentorship, which was really great. That was focused on fix and flips, and I learned a lot about having your statement of work and dealing with contractors and all of that good stuff, so that I could get more comfortable with what the repairs look like and how to estimate that. But then joining Pace, his mentorship, it's just been, oh my gosh, shiny objects everywhere, right?
I
But
know.
yeah, I knew I wanted to hold. I wanted to buy and hold, and my expectation was that would be long-term rentals, but they're not cash flowing. So I had to think about what that was going to look like. And for the longest time, I was still focused on long-term rentals and trying to figure out, okay, is it me? Is it how I'm doing the calculations? Am I missing something in my underwriting? And I think I had some tunnel vision for a bit, and finally uh, figured out, okay, I need to be able to pivot if I still want to hold and I want cash flowing properties, because this isn't working. It's been a while and I still didn't have a property. So I knew I didn't want short-term rentals because of all the regulations coming down, right? And then I didn't want to be that involved with having to turn the property so often and all of that, right? So I didn't want to have to manage a short-term rental and fight with the regulations and all of that. So that was never an option. So then that left midterm rentals, um, and something like pad split, co-living, group homes, sober. I had to look at other opportunities, right? So I
Mhm.
really had started looking at midterm rentals, and I liked that book 30 Days Stay by Sarah and Ziona. I don't remember their last names, but such a great book. And I was like, okay, midterm rentals, that's what I'm gonna do. And in the meantime, our pad split rep here for Arizona, I had been talking to him since early last year at the Arizona Real Estate Investor Association meetings, all the different meetings I was going to with them. And he was just telling me a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more about pad split every time I met with him. And so patient and just full of great information. And so I'm looking at midterm rentals and I'm thinking, okay, am I going to do midterm rental where it's just one bedroom apartments with one person, like an RN or journeyman or something like that, somebody who just needs it for, 30, 60, 90 days. How much is a one bedroom going to cost, right? How many am I going to find of that? Then I have to deal with HOAs and all of that. So then I went to, okay, maybe I get a larger property and I'm renting out the rooms. Well, then you basically have pad split, right? So that's what pad split does. It starts out where the members who join pad split's membership are signing up for at least 30 days, and then it goes weekly or bi-weekly from there. So it took me a while to work through it, but I have now hopped on and I'm all in with pad splits. So that's kind of where I started and how I came to PadSplit. Um,
And for the
did I
people that
answer your
don't
question?
know, what
Yes,
is PadSplit?
PadSplit. Okay, good question. So, well, I'm thinking I'm going to rent out a room, right? Instead of having the whole property where I'm just renting it to one tenant or member, I'm going to rent out each room. So it's a co-living type of situation or a rent by room type of situation. So
Hmm.
you have a single family home that you're paying a single family home price for, and you're getting multifamily returns,
Yeah,
because if you're renting each room out, then you can charge more for renting each room out than you can for the whole property. So, for example, long-term rentals, just say on average in the area where my property is in Glendale, a long-term rental rate would be about 2,200 maybe. And with renting each room out, and I have 9 bedrooms, 4 baths, I can see gross rents of about 8,500 a month. So big difference, big
right,
difference. Yeah.
The
And
nice thing is,
PadSplit's the brand. Yeah.
the nice thing that you don't have when you're because you're working with PadSplit is that they are the on the I guess it like a lease, it's like they're the occupant because everybody's a member. So you don't have all these individual leases and there's no problem with occupants as far as the subdivision goes.
Right, right. Yeah, so that's a very good point. So as a host, so I own the property, I'm the host, and then I have my contract with PadSplit. PadSplit's the brand that has really put co-living on the map, if you will.
Mhm.
They've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years, a lot of money. They're, I think, averaging about 350,000 a month nationwide to to really get the word out about pad split and co-living.
hmm,
And so they're spending a lot of money to get co-living out there in America, right? Like if you go to Europe, that co-living has been around for many, many years, right? They already ran out of space a long time ago and had to come up with some way for people to have a place to live that was affordable. And now here we are, we're kind of catching up now. And so PadSplit started in Atlanta, Georgia, and has built up from there. So as hosts, our contract is with PadSplit. They have a membership program that they're putting out there to anybody who's looking for a nice, clean, safe, quiet place to live. And they're only having to pay for a room, not the whole place, right?
right.
So it's great because it's a win-win for them. It's a win-win for the host, because you don't have all those contracts with multiple people. You just have your contract with PadSplit. Yep.
Now, as far as contacts, do you just have one particular person that you have a contact with within PadSplit, or do you? How does that?
Well, yeah, yeah. So I can always reach out to our rep in Arizona for questions. But when it comes specifically to the property, once you've gone live with that property, it's easier just to go straight to PadSplit support. I can email them anytime or call them anytime. And they've been super, super helpful, very responsive with any questions or concerns, anything where if it's on my end where it's like, I don't know where to find this on your website, they're super helpful with that. But also, I've had members come to me asking about stuff, and I don't know what they see from their angle because I have a different view on the
Right,
website. So when they're trying to find something, then I can reach out to PadSplit as well and say, hey, they're asking me about this. Like, where can I tell them to go for this? And they're super helpful with that. So the platform is pretty user friendly.
Mhm.
But everybody's different in
Right.
how comfortable they are with technology and everything. And sometimes it just doesn't click, or you're right there, you just didn't quite see it, right? So PadSplit support is super helpful with that.
And do you have to deal with these tenants that are moving in and out, or does PadSplit take care of that for you?
Yeah, so the platform has the view, or the functions for saying, okay, this person is moving out now. And then depending on what that move out is about, like I had one member that moved in just long enough for her to be able to, she was waiting for her permanent place to be ready for her. And so we knew that she would be moving out by the end of April, that was already scheduled. So I got the notification in those days leading up to that, that this member's planning on moving out, and to be ready to get clean that room, turn the room, if you will, make sure that it's all clean and ready to go so we can get it back online for another member to move in. And what's cool about it is that there's PadSplit provides a nice little checklist of what you need to do as a part of that, because it's not just cleaning the room, but then you want to change the code on the room's door and on the front door, right? And get that updated on the website, so that way the new member coming in has the new code to get in. And there's a third thing. I know there were like three things to look at. Now I'm drawing a blank on what the third thing was. It was cleaning, the code. I don't know what the other thing was. I'm drawing a blank on it. But they have that nice little checklist for you, and you actually can go in and check it off and see what your progress is until it's done, and then it's ready to activate. And you can decide if you want to change anything at that time, like if you want to change the rent for that room at the time, or if you want to change the move-in fee at that time, you can do all of that then, or you can just leave it as what the standard is that you've set so far. So
Right.
yeah, super easy.
And what is the process of becoming a host? Do you meet with people from PadSplit, and do they give recommendations, or is it just your idea, or how does that work out?
Oh yeah. So there's so many ways that you can get information and get ready. So from the in-person type of deal, you have your rep that is working the area. So my rep that I've been talking to for over a year, Ellis, he's super patient and helpful. He was giving me some guidance as I was going through. He was sending me some different emails with some resources and kind of a checklist, if you will, of what I needed to follow and the links for getting where I needed to go. And then and those links were on the PadSplit site. The PadSplit site is awesome because you just go through and say, okay, I want to become a host. And it really walks you through step by step by step on what you need to do with that. For example, um, excuse me, the property, there's a whole onboarding checklist for what you would want to look at and make sure your property's ready for, like fire extinguishers. Do you have fire extinguishers installed? Have you put room numbers on each bedroom door, so that way everybody can keep track and be very clear about which room is which? There's a whole checklist. What's going on with the kitchens? What's going on with the bathrooms? Each room, the outside, the condition, right? Making sure that the water flows good. Like they go very detailed line by line on what you need to look at to make sure your property is ready to go. And then once you do that, you're just checking off those things on the website, and you get to that point where you can say, okay, I'm ready. I've done all the things. I'm ready to go live. And what we did is to celebrate, right? Like you're getting ready, you're going live here. So we had an open house, and Ellis put it out there to the community. You can,
Mhm.
there's PadSplit Facebook groups that you
Oh,
can meet with other, yes, with other hosts. And anybody who's interested in PadSplit, or maybe they just signed up and they're still working through their list, but they can come and see what you've done with your property, and you can share ideas, right? Like, I got ideas from other people that had already been doing this. And I was like, ooh, I want to put that in, I want to incorporate that into my property. So you have the community, the local community, you have the greater PadSplit community where you can be connecting with people outside of your local area that are also PadSplit
Right.
hosts. And then of course, being in sub 2, we've got the sub 2 people that are doing PadSplit as well. So you have that community. So lots of resources, lots of connections. We did our open house, and then went live on the website, and was just a matter of waiting for those members to pop in. And the great thing, the really exciting part for us was that as we were working through that list to make sure everything was ready, we checked that flag on PadSplit's site to say coming soon, right? So then it starts to show it, and then you can see, the members can see it and flag it to follow and see if they, are going to sign up as soon as you go live. So we already had a handful of people that were already watching our property as we were getting it ready. And so as soon as we went live, we were able to get some people in pretty quickly. I think within like a week, we had a couple of people signed up already. So now to speak to that, they will say that it can take up to 60 or 90 days for the property to stabilize or get fully occupied. So there are some people who have been able to get their properties filled within a matter of days of going live. And then there's others where it really does take that 30, 60, 90 days. And a lot of that has to do with, are you going live at the same time as a bunch of other people in your neighborhood? Which
Mhm.
is what happened to me. We've got a lot of people that put their properties online in Glendale at the same time that I did. So now I have increased competition. So it takes a little bit longer for me to get those rooms filled. But that's where you can go look at PadSplit's website to see what is going on. Where are all of the current PadSplit properties, and where are the ones that are getting ready to come online? So you could be a little bit more strategic about where you're looking to buy those properties, because maybe you don't want to have as much competition. Maybe you're willing to go outside of that a little bit.
Right.
And if it lines up, then you can get the property there, and then maybe you can fill it up sooner.
From the day that you signed the contract in the house until the day that you got it going live with PadSplit, how long was that process?
Well, for us, we had a very short period of time actually, because the seller who sold us the house is a fix and flipper. And
Hmm.
so he was kind enough to help us add the additional walls that we needed to add.
Oh, okay.
And yes, and it was great because he said, well, yeah, I could probably do this in 10 to 15 days. They did it in less than 10 days. So we closed, and they started adding the walls, the ductwork, the electrical. We got some noise canceling or noise reduction.
Mhm.
What is that? Not the foam, but the stuff that goes in the walls.
Oh,
You
the
know what I'm
like
talking.
a foam
Yeah.
board.
Insulation.
Oh, yeah.
Insulation.
It's
Yes.
like
There's noise
insulation.
canceling insulation. I
It's
learned that.
yeah, it's actually a type of foam, like you originally said, because that's better for insulation than insulation for sound barrier.
I heard exact opposite. I heard that the foam actually isn't so good, that the stuff that you spray for a couple of different reasons, that the insulation that's the noise reducing is actually better. So and it was pricier, and it was like, well, if it's actually going to work and that's better for everything all the
Everybody.
way
Yeah.
around, then we'll go ahead and do that. So we had to add that to the budget, but
Yeah.
still, it was
That,
in less than 10 days.
that's a part you have to think about because typically in a house, the interior walls do not have insulation. And
Yeah.
when you have people living together, you're gonna need a little bit of insulation to keep the sounds isolated.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Yes.
something that they're gonna a comfort level thing because they don't want, your neighbor in the room next to you hearing their phone conversations or, the TV or anything that they have on.
Right,
Exactly. Right. Yeah, and that's why we went ahead and paid to get the extra, right? Instead of just
right,
doing anything regular, we were like, okay, this is going to be worth it to get the extra because the rooms that we added, one of them was closing off the living room, right? But we weren't doing away with all of the common space. We were keeping the dining room that was right there and having some workspace there. So we wanted to make sure there was insulation there to keep out the noise as much as possible. And then we had I think it was the garage originally, but the original owners had closed it in and put a nice fireplace in there and a
right,
nice French door on one side, and then there was another door to the backyard on the other side. And so we split that out and made that 2 rooms, and we closed off. We didn't do away with the fireplace in case we wanted to have that there if we were going to
right,
sell it, down the line. So we just walled it off and created closets on each side and then have the wall down the middle and then the wall to separate it from the rest of the space. So we
right,
got 2 rooms there and then the living room. So we have a total of 9. And that all duct work, electrical, everything happened in 10 days. And then I needed to finish up some of the stuff that I needed to do on that checklist from PadSplit, like getting the fire extinguishers set up and the fire stops over the stoves and just some different things I wanted to make sure was ready to go before we flipped that switch. So it was probably about 15 days that
wow,
from the time that we closed to when we
Mhm.
turned it on. Yeah.
yeah, that's not long at all.
Remember the last conversation we had, remember, tell people what you did as far as like cabinet space and refrigerator space.
Mm. Yes, yes, yes. So that was something that I learned from somebody else where, part of the challenge of having a co-living property is you really want to try to minimize any conflicts or anything that could cause a conflict with the members. So for example, no couch in the common area, no TV in the common area because then they're less likely to fight over who's watching what and when, and then you're not having a space there where somebody could be invited to stay the night that's not a member. So we don't want the couch, we don't want the TV there. And then the cabinets and the refrigerators, what we did is we labeled the shelves everywhere in the kitchen, in the refrigerators, so that each room has their own space. And that way nobody's having to worry about putting their stuff in somebody else's space that they thought was theirs. It's very easily marked. And there's this kitchen that we actually have 2 kitchens. So there's lots of space. We have 2 refrigerators, 2 microwave ovens. So making sure that you have those things marked. We also have even like a little mail slot just inside the doorway. So that way each room has their mail slot that whoever's checking the mail that week can put their mail in there. So we haven't had any conflicts so far about any of that kind of stuff. They're very clear about where their space is. Sometimes I have seen when I've gone over where people left their stuff on the counters. So I just sent a nice friendly reminder. We're trying to keep it nice and clean and tidy for our pad mates. So please make sure you're putting your things away when you're done using them, so we can keep everything clear for everybody. And they did that, so that's been good.
You have somebody that lives there that kind of takes the leadership role, and like you were just discussing the mail situation, somebody that you can trust that can distribute the mail without anything missing or things like that, you know?
Yeah, I've heard different hosts doing different things with that. We decided not to go that route because you don't know how long a person's going to stay in, or if anybody
Right.
really wants to take that responsibility. And so the way that we set it up in the house rules on the website, and also in the property itself, we have some cute framed little reminders about things. And what we've done is we say everybody takes a turn each week. You're taking a turn in checking the mail and in cleaning the common areas. If there's any supplies, like I stocked all of the supplies to start. And then if anything needs to be replenished, whoever has it that week and they run out, then they replenish it. And so far that's been good. And then once a month, I have our house cleaner come in and she does the deep cleaning in all of the common areas
Mhm.
and make sure that the trash is going out as well. So that seems to have been working so far. I haven't really heard any complaints from anybody about that. I think one person complained that somebody had their food unopened in their shelf in the fridge, but it was like starting to smell because it
Yeah,
should have been thrown out. So it was like, okay, we're keeping everything tidy, everyone. And I think I haven't heard any complaints after that. I think he cleared it out. So
that's some
um
minor issue.
yeah, yeah.
So, and that, do you have any?
How long does the average person stay?
Mm. Well, I've just been online since mid-March,
Oh,
and I've had let's see, the one that moved in mid-March, he's still there. He moved into our property to get closer to work, and he works nights, and so I think he's going to be long term. The other ones, they just moved here from out of state. So I haven't heard them say anything about that they're planning to move out somewhere else. Um, it's hopefully they're going to be long term as well. I think I've heard Ella say that people can stay anywhere from 6 to 9 months, and some people have had Atticus, who, he started with his own properties as he was building PadSplit up. He's had people stay 2.5 years.
wow.
So the goal is the long-term stayers, right? We
Yes,
want people to stay as long as possible. And, it's built with the flexibility for people who might be in some kind of transition where they need to commit to at least 30 days, but then it's flexible after that. So you've got people who are maybe here working on projects for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Then they have a nice clean place to stay. But somebody who really doesn't want to have their own place or can't afford to have their own place, they can be there as long as they want. And that's what we
right.
like.
Yeah, that'd be the ones that I would be marketing towards, is those people, because I think that there's a lot of lonely people out there, a lot of single people that they don't mind being around people every once in a while. And
Right.
I think that it's a ideal situation for people like that, that they can, I mean, they can't afford it or they can't, either way, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But I mean, just the fact that they have a place to stay and they feel like they have some kind of like belonging. And I think people
Yeah.
want that.
Yes, the sense of community is big, and that's why for us, I really didn't want to close off all the space. Like we probably could have gotten 11 rooms out of this property. We have almost 3,000 square feet, but I didn't want to just cram people in. I wanted it to
Right.
feel like their home, and they can hang out with each other in the dining room. They can have workspace that they can work there if they don't want to be in their room. They can do that. They can go out to the back patio. It's a nice covered long back patio. There's a pool there. They can go swimming. I really want it to feel like this is their place, right? And they can hang out. Now, I will tell you, as many times as I've been there, I've seen one person sit at the dining room table.
Right.
Oh,
Like
you got a
they're
table?
usually in the rooms. Yeah, like no, unless they're doing it when I'm not there, maybe. But
Probably.
most of the time, yeah, most of the time they're either working or they're in their rooms. I've seen them kind of come in and go as I've been there, but they have the space, and I think just having the opportunity there for them, it gives them that if they want it, right? Rather than just not giving it to them and then they don't have that opportunity even. So that's what we wanted to do with our properties.
She told me before that she even bought, what was the situation about the pizza?
Oh yeah, a few weeks ago. So I have a leak in the property. That's a whole other long story. And it's taken, it actually happened the day I had my first two members move in. So that was great.
Of
That was what
course.
a way to start. Yes. And we're still dealing with this. And so
Oh,
I felt so bad for them, and they've been so patient. And so I took pizza over a few weeks ago. I think it's been 3 weeks ago now. And I told everybody, I even checked, I was like, what day works for you guys? I'm thinking of doing this, maybe a Friday night, around 5:30-ish, if that works for everybody. And some of them said, well, I'll be working them, but thank you so much. So I was like, okay, well then how about Monday? Does Monday work for everybody? So that seemed to work. So I brought it in on a Monday. I didn't even just have it delivered because I was like, I'm going to get dessert. I'm going to have plates and napkins and set it up nicely for them so they don't even have to do anything. They just come in and get their food and we can chit chat. I saw two members of the five, and it was just kind of in passing, and they thanked me for the pizza, and then that was it. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, everybody thanked me, but it was just like, yeah, we're good. So when I went back the other day, I did see where most of the dessert was gone. So they did eat it. It
Right.
just apparently wasn't a good time for them at that time. So, but it's the little things. It doesn't take much
Right.
to show your appreciation. Yeah. So.
So what kind of niche did you kind of gear toward? Is it like co-ed or is it just male, female? How's
It
it
is, yeah.
situated to make it work?
Right. It is co-ed. And when I talked to Ellis about that and different hosts, um, different ones were saying, well, we really want to focus on just helping vets. Others were like, well, we want to help just women, or we want to just have just men. And
Right.
Ellis said, it's your property. You can do whatever you want with that. But what they found overall is that the co-ed is what works best overall and helps you keep all the rooms filled. If you
Yeah.
only
Gives you
focus
more
on,
options.
yes, if you only focus on one niche, then you're saying no to everybody else, right?
Right.
So we decided, nope, if co-ed is what it's built for, then that's what we'll do. We'll just have it co-ed. And uh we've had three girls and two boys. And it's been fine. I did hear from another host where they were having a problem with one of the guys not keeping the bathroom clean. And I'm not going to go any further than that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys can figure out what that means. And and the host kept making comments and giving reminders and talking. And then the house cleaner, I think he was having the house cleaner come more often because nobody else wanted to touch it, right?
Right,
And so I think the last I heard was because he was not abiding by the rules. The house rules are to keep your areas clean.
right.
And you
You-
have the option as a host to actually add additional house rules. So there's PadSplit has their standard house rules, and then you can add, there's a space where you can add to that. So when we were working on the pool and that was not ready for anybody to be in, one of the house rules was do not enter the pool area. Do not use the pool. And we had
Right,
a sign on there. And then as soon as that was done and ready, then I took that off the house rules so that now they know they can use it. So it's part of the house rules. They are expected to keep their rooms clean, the common areas tidy. This one would not, and I think I'm not sure how it happened, but I think the host said that that member is now not in the property. And I don't know if it's because he had to tell him to go or the
right.
guy just decided that that was not the right one for him. So
Yeah, that,
PadSplit is there to help for
right,
sure with communications with the members, and members can actually file complaints against other paid pad mates as well
right.
in the site, and then PadSplit works through that with them. And we can do that as well as hosts. We can actually file a complaint against a member, and then PadSplit helps through that conversation. So um, it's nice to have that layer there of support.
So that kind of leads me to another question, like, what if you do have a bad apple and you need to get rid of them? Is there an eviction process? How does that work out?
There is a process, and it all starts with letting PadSplit know. So if the members have a complaint against another member, I believe it's that if that member gets up to three, they had a term for it. I'm going to say 3 strikes, you're out. It wasn't strikes. They were saying something else with it. Maybe it was points. I don't know.
Occurrences?
But basically, 3 strikes and you're out. And that could be any combination of pad mates, uh, filing a complaint, or hosts as well. And once that happens, then it's, I believe, don't quote me on this. Don't
Right,
rely on this. Go look for yourself. But I believe that if it's 3, you're not just out of that house, but you're out of PadSplit altogether.
right.
So
Well, that's good.
yeah,
So,
PadSplit takes it seriously.
so
Y-
you haven't had anybody that you had to get rid of yet. So you've been
Yeah.
lucky or
Well, the core
blessed.
markets, there's legal help in the core markets, but I think if you do something beyond, like if you go to a city like here in St. Louis, they really don't have pad splits here, but
Mhm.
you can, if you do it here, I guess you're kind of on your own, but if you do like a pad split in a core market, then they have legal help for you if something goes like, bigger than I guess that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, PadSplit does have some good support. I don't think that there have been I think the eviction rate nationwide is maybe just over 1%. They really have done a fabulous job of um, helping through that process to hopefully avoid an eviction. But so, 1%, just over 1% nationwide. I don't think there have been any evictions in my market in Arizona yet. And we're on track to outpace the growth of Atlanta, Georgia, I believe. So we've got a lot of properties popping up here, and no evictions yet that I recall hearing. So, and then there's the collections part of it. The PadSplit helps with the collection. So I think they're at a 97 some odd% rate of collection, which is awesome. They're having those conversations with the member, and you can as well if you're willing to, and hopefully you are, because you want to have a long-term relationship with your members. You can have those conversations as well, like, how can I help you through this? And there's the functionality in the site to allow extensions. For example, if something happens, their car breaks down and now they can't pay by the due date, you can give them an extension. And there's a fee for that, I believe, that's just automatically charged. So you're getting those fees. It's not like you're getting it, it's not like you're doing it for free. You get the fee on top of that rent, but it gives them that little bit of cushion to get caught up and be able to stay in. And if they have more, I think it's $300 or more balance, then PadSplit's automatically sending them notifications that they need to get that under the $300 mark, or they're at risk. They have to get that caught up, and I just had one of those notifications pop up that PadSplit was working with somebody on getting their balance down, and there was nothing I needed to do, and they were just letting me know. And then within a few days I got a notification that that member's good now, so they were able to get their balance below the
That's
300 mark.
good. That's good that they
Yes.
they they seem to, I guess they manage your pad split.
Well, they're doing all the marketing to bring the members in. And they're providing the platform, right? Everything goes through the PadSplit website or app. So that way, that's your way of communicating with the members. You're also able to see what all the funds that are coming in at any moment, what that looks like. But also you can go and look at, okay, what was March, what was April, and you can download those reports and do whatever kind of review or analysis that you're looking to do. And then they've got all of those features that we've talked about, right, with helping them stay current with their balance. The complaints system, anybody who needs to do a complaint against another pad mate, they have that capability in there. There's the messaging part of it. So when a member needs to reach out to me about something going on with the property, they can go right through the app to do that. I can see it in the app, or I can see it on the website. So the PadSplit's not uh they're not doing the maintenance of the property. That's the host's responsibility.
Right.
But they do have where you can keep track of your tickets that either the members can create or you can create to keep on top of whatever maintenance issue that is going on until it's completed. So that's nice. And then if you have a team, so say you have a repair person working for you to do all of that, you can set them up as a user on your team, and then they can see all the tickets. You can assign that ticket to them, and then you can see the progress. So it's kind of a project manager system, if you will, as well.
Hmm.
So very, very handy all the way around. Like, I haven't really had to do anything on my own. Like, what I've done on my own, I've just been able to do in a spreadsheet right now. I can go and get another system if I want to do all the other stuff that I need to do to keep track of the utilities, or repairs and maintenance, and the pool service and that kind of stuff. But I had not done that yet. I actually just looked up, finished the research, and selected a program that I'm going to use for that. So PadSplit's done really well with how they've built this out over the last couple of years. It's been super helpful.
I got kind of like a two-part question. Do you live near where your pad split's located? And do you think this would be something that you could easily do from a long distance, like coast to coast or something?
Yeah. So for me, I decided that I wanted my first 12 pad splits to be in Arizona where I'm at. And I know other people who have bought all their properties that they're holding out of state, even out of country.
Right.
So it's really what your comfort level is with that. For me, I I'm kind of I'm kind of a control freak. I'm trying not to be, but and there have been moments where I'm like, I should have just brought this property out of state, so I'm not even tempted to go to this property because now I got to go to this property,
Yeah.
Uh,
and I'm not trying to go to the property all the time. I really am not, right? But it's a good thing in this case because I have this lake, right, that I had to find, and um, I've noticed that again, this is just my perspective, my comfort level, but I've noticed that, yeah, I've had to go to the property a lot because I'm dealing with this leak. I've had different contractors coming in looking at different things. I've had insurance guys come now walking through, and they could have and have, because I've really tried to now control myself and say, okay, do I really need to go to the property for this? Can I just give them the code, let them do
right.
their thing, and follow up with me? And so I've done it both ways. And I will say that I think it really depends on what you're having done, um, and who you're working with. So, and then also, one thing that I would say to that is if you're having people going to the property and you're not there with them, then you want to make sure you're letting your pad mates know ahead of time somebody's going to be coming in. It is the repair guy for whatever, or it's the
Right.
plumber, or I'm having pest control come and spray everywhere on such and such day. So that way they know somebody's coming in and they're supposed to be coming in. That sometimes has been difficult because I don't know. I tell them as soon as I find out when I can get somebody in there. And then I've had feedback where they're like, well, it would have been nice to know, a day or two in advance. I don't know what I think about that. Part of me is like, okay, but I'm telling you now, because this is as soon as I could get somebody in, and I'm giving them the code to do ABC. If it's my house, like if I feel comfortable enough having them come in, they're not going into your room, you know. I don't know. I'm torn on that. Part of me is like, okay, I'm gonna try. It's not like I'm having random people going in all the time. And I'm letting you know as soon as I know. So
Sometimes people
I
don't,
don't know.
you know, they get short notice and you just got to deal with it. I mean, like you said, it is your house. It's not their house. They're just staying there because you're letting them. But that's true.
I want them to feel at home too. So it's like I kind of go back and forth. It's like I'm dealing with all of this to help you.
Right.
It's like
Exactly.
help me help you. I don't
Yeah. So
I
do you
don't know.
communicate with them through the like the portal?
Yeah. I actually, PadSplit has an app you can download that is straight messaging. So I don't have to log into padsplit.com to be able to see the messages. I can, they're there, but if I don't want to have to go through the extra steps, I literally can just open up the app on my phone and I see if I have messages, and I can answer messages. I can send messages to individuals. I can send house messages that go out to everybody. I can see the archive stuff. So
Right.
that's pretty handy. I use that quite a bit.
So does PadSplit see your messages so they can like record that for like legal reasons or just record it for their own so they know what's going on as well as you and the pad mates?
It's there. So I would say that, I mean, they've got the access, but I don't know that I've heard anybody say that they're accessing it to record it anywhere for that purpose. I think it's a good I don't delete any of the messages
Right,
because I want to have the history there. Just because that's how I've always been. I have a W-2 still, and my W-2, I have so many emails IT keeps telling me I've got to delete, and I go, I archive them. No, you're still taking up too much space. I'm like, too bad. I refer back to that stuff. Get over it. So
well, you kind
I
of,
don't
to
get rid
me,
of stuff.
right, to me, you kind of have to have some kind of record so you can go
Yeah,
back to that point and say, see, this is what happened.
You always
yeah,
document just in case there's any
Right,
discrepancy in anything, you know?
exactly. That's the whole,
exactly.
that was the whole point of what why I made that comment.
Now,
Exactly.
now, if everybody was truthful and honest, you wouldn't have to do that, but that's not the world we
Exactly,
live in.
I
exactly.
know. I know. As far as I know, they haven't communicated to me. Now I feel like I need to ask them. I haven't seen anything on there that says that they're going to automatically delete anything after a certain period of time. I think it's going to be there until you delete it. And I would like to think that if they were going to have some kind of automatic thing that they would give you a warning first, and then you
Right.
could download that and save that to your computer so that you still have the history if you need it.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, overall, I mean, sounds like you've only had this for a couple of months now at this point, but are you happy that this is the choice that you decided to make with the house?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This house was made for this. It
Right.
was, I mean, almost 3,000 square feet. The fix and flipper when he bought it, I think it was 5 bedroom, 3 bath. He made it 7 bedroom, 4 bath with a second kitchen and second laundry. And then I added 2 more rooms, and it's still cozy. It doesn't feel cramped at all. It's a very nice property, and I think it's in a great location for this. It's near public transportation, which is something that you want to look at when you're looking at
Yeah.
properties to buy for this. A lot of people that are going to rent a room may not have reliable transportation, so they will be looking to public transportation. The work centers, being close to work centers, shopping centers, the schools, uh, all of those kind of things. I wouldn't necessarily target college students because they're high risk.
They're
Uh,
partiers.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to have one or two in there and then the rest of the whole people that are not
yeah,
uh college people be complaining and then you'd have a
right,
horrible
right.
decision.
Yeah,
There
you'll
could
have a frat
be,
house.
yeah.
Yeah,
Now, yes, I've heard where, again it goes back to, are you being selective with how you're putting this property out there? So I don't say no students. It's open to anybody, any age, 18 and over, any single individual, I should say. We're not trying to rent to couples, although I've heard some people say that they wanted to maybe try that with their property. I don't know. I think if you had
so how do you charge for
multiple
that?
couples in one house, I think that's really asking for conflict. So,
I
yeah, I
think
don't know about
so.
that.
Yeah,
But
it's different.
yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
then would you charge for two people in one room or what do you do?
I don't know.
Because it seems
Yeah, I don't know. I can't wait to hear how that goes.
I
Because
think I'd probably pass on that idea.
We'll cater to the
yeah,
single life.
Right.
right, right. Well, yeah, and then there have been people where they want, where you have a single person with a child. And it's like, ooh, but what about everybody else? Nobody else has children. So,
Yes.
Yeah,
it's,
that's another sticky situation. I
yeah,
would feel bad for the single, like what that single mom that has nowhere to go and she could
yeah,
rent a then, but you don't want issues,
Right.
right. Yeah. It's just, it's more simple to just do it the way PadSplit has it set up, right? Like they've been at this for a while now.
Right,
They've figured out what works. And so which I appreciate. It's just like, okay, I'm gonna do exactly how you have it built.
right,
And that's good. I don't need to reinvent the wheel here.
Right,
Um,
right.
and there's definitely other options for co-living. You don't have to necessarily use PadSplit at all, which was something that I had considered. But the thing is that you really have a lot more work to do then, because
right.
you're having to build that infrastructure or find
Yeah,
something that's going to work for all of those things that we just went through, right? And you're not going to have that layer uh, like you do with having PadSplit, where PadSplit is having a lot of those conversations with them and working with them. You're not going to have that if you're not using PadSplit for a co-living setup. So for me, thinking about the way that their website is,
right,
the kind of service that they provide, the branding. They've spent so much money building the brand
right,
in these different cities, and it's just going to get more and more and more and more. They're going to go nationwide. This isn't going to go small. This isn't going to go away because we have
right.
such a need. And for you or me to try to compete with PadSplit on getting those members,
Yeah,
from a member's perspective, if I needed to find a place to live and I look up renting a room, the first thing that's going to pop up is PadSplit, and
yeah.
I can
It's gonna
see
be
the recognition.
impossible.
I can see all the numbers of members they have and all the locations that they're at, and I can see all of the reviews, and there's so much more there, right? To build to speak to the credibility that PadSplit has, that me as a member, I'm going to choose PadSplit because that's going to make me feel safe that I'm going to go into a nice place to
Yeah.
live,
Well, plus
right?
they're
So,
trusted and they have a reputation. I mean,
exactly,
that's
exactly,
gonna be a big thing for them going forward, even if there is other
right,
people down the road that decide to compete with them. I mean, even
exactly,
smaller companies, you know?
Yeah, but I
right.
don't think they'll prevail over PadSplit because they're the ones that's got the system down already.
Yep,
Right?
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
I mean, you
Yep,
have well, OfferPad out there and they're
I
not
think
doing
yeah,
very good.
Yeah, I think the Google search would head to PadSplit anyway, and because it's already established, people will trust that a lot more.
yep. Yep.
Hmm.
It's just like so I was at a panel discussion last week that the Arizona Real Estate Investors Association put on with PadSplit, talking about PadSplit. And one of the panelists had said, look, right now where we're at with co-living and PadSplit is the foundation. It's right at the beginning of this, just like how it was at the beginning of vacation rentals, that whole Airbnb,
Right,
VRBO. If you get in at the beginning, you're set, you're good, right? It's before everybody else shows up
right,
and buys all of the properties and starts making them all pad splits. This is the time, right? And so what we're finding, even I think Kansas City, Kansas, or it might have been Missouri, now I can't remember, is the latest one that just opened up for pad split. They just opened up there, and it's such a prime market because you have it's the property values are very reasonable compared to elsewhere,
right,
and it's just starting out. You can be the first ones to open up properties there, and there's such a need there that it should be very quick to fill up as soon as you go live. So that's what's happening in all these cities. They're opening it up, and people are taking it on, and they're converting their long-term rentals to pad splits because it makes sense. You can help more people that way.
right. I have a couple of questions as far as the financial part of it. How much are the rooms going for where you're located for each room? And then how much does PadSplit get out of that?
Yeah. So the room rates are really going to depend on multiple factors, the location of the property, what are the other rentals
Amenities?
going for in that area, the amenities,
Yeah,
how large is the room? Does it have its own bathroom? Does it have its own exit? Because members will pay premium for that. They will pay extra if they have their own exit. They will pay extra if they have their own bathroom. And then, of course, the bigger the room, the better, right?
right,
PadSplit says that no room should be less than 80 square feet. So you can't make that a bedroom to rent out if it's less than 80 square feet. So that's something to keep in mind. All of our rooms, we have one room in the basement that is just over 80 square feet. All of the rest of our rooms are very big.
right,
And so the smaller the room, the fact that it doesn't have an exit, the fact that it doesn't have its own bathroom, then that is just under 200 a week. And
right.
then the larger the room, and then with its own bathroom, like say the primary, I think that ends up being about 1100 a month, which I'm drawing a blank on what that is per week.
Right.
So you've got anywhere from what about eight something per
Yeah.
month for the smallest room without a bathroom, without an exit, to about 1100
Yeah.
a month for the primary, and it ends up being in total about 8,500 a month gross rents. That doesn't include move-in fees that you can charge. It doesn't include late fees. It doesn't include the additional fees that can be charged to say, for example, if somebody has somebody stay over when they're not supposed to, there's
All
a
right.
fee for that. Yes. So that doesn't include all those additional fees. Then what PadSplit charges, they've just transitioned to a new fee structure. So if your property went live before May something, I can't remember the date. You could choose to stay with the old structure for another year, which was basically about 12% of gross rents is the
Right.
fee to PadSplit, and that includes the transaction fee that they charge. But that part changed recently as well. The new fee structure is they charge the first 10 days is a booking fee that PadSplit takes. And then they reduce the percentage from the 10% really, if you're not including the transaction fee, down to 8%. So then the transaction fee, they just switch that over that the member pays the transaction fee. So if you look at what that costs or what that looks like for a year, because I'm long term, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I want this long term. So if I look at it for a year, I see that I actually make more money under the new fee structure than I do under the old fee
Right.
structure. It's just that you're not getting that first 10 days, really. If I were to average that out, like how much the 10-day fee is plus the 8% that I'm paying, it is about 10-11%, I think. So it's less, right? It's less than the 12% that they're charging. And the expectation is it's long term. So I had the same reaction as a lot of people. Wait a minute. You're going to take my first 10 days? Come on. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But the thing is, think about all the money PadSplit has spent filling that room. They spend $350,000 a month on building that brand, getting PadSplit out there first. Your property is listed on that site for your location. Mine is, I think, the 6th property on the list. I'm on the first page. So they're paying all of that. They're fronting all of that cost, right? So all we have, and they're giving us all the resources. That we got the website. They're giving us the checklist to get the property ready. They're doing all of these things to help us get ready. So then they take the 10 days to reimburse some of that cost, right? Because they've already put so much out. And I get that. There's part of me where it's just like, can't you just spread it? But I get it. They fronted a lot on there. So 10 days, I can do that because in the long run, I'm going to make more money anyway.
Right.
So do you think that having a bigger house like you have is more of an advantage than having something that's smaller?
Well, yeah, it's more of an advantage. You would want to probably stick with properties that are going to be 1,500 square feet or more. Because if you get below that 1,500 square feet of a property, then you're trying to add at least 1 or 2 more rooms. And then are they going to be at least 80 square feet, right? So it could be pretty cramped. So my buy boxes, I'm looking at 1,500 square feet and up. And then what I do when I look at a property, another reason why I like it being local, I can walk that property with an app called Kubicasa. You can download the app for free, and it's literally on your phone, and you're walking through the whole property, and it gives you measurements of every room, and then you get it will produce a 2D version of the floor plan for you. And then you can see with your PadSplit rep or somebody else who, another PadSplit host friend, if you want, then you can look at that and say, okay, where can I add my rooms here and still make it cozy, still make it where it's at least 80 square feet per room. Ideally, the boxier the place, the better. And what I mean by that is, a lot of these newer builds, they're built with that open concept where you've got just
Right.
this
Yeah.
huge room and
Mhm.
there's the kitchen and dining and living. Now you're going to have so many more walls that you have to add to
Right.
to break that up, right? But if it's the old kind, the houses that were built in the 90s or older, then maybe even early 2000s. I guess it depends on where you're at. But the boxier it is, then now you only have to add 1 or 2 walls to get
Right.
a bedroom out of that. So that makes it easier actually for you because the people who are buying houses that are the homestead buyers, this is going to be their primary. They want all those open concept type houses. They can
Right.
have them. We'll take the ones they don't want, and then we can add the walls to close off the dining room or close off the living room, the family room, right? We can close those off and add 1 or 2 more rooms, and then now you can cash flow that much more. I could have cash flowed keeping this property at 7 rooms. I could have made decent money, but I added 2 walls to the living room and 2 walls to the garage, and now I'm going to make 8,500. I can't remember what it was at a 7-bedroom, but it was a big jump to be able to go from 7-bedroom to 9-bedroom. That was a big jump. It was worth paying the what I think it was about 13,000 all in to add closets and the
Right.
ductwork and the extra for the nice
Yeah.
insulation. It was worth that money to get the 9 rooms. So yeah, the more square footage you have, the better, and the boxier it is, the better.
Right. I see
Yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah.
So did the house, I guess in Arizona, a big house like that would cost a lot.
Yeah, well, a lot's relative, I guess. So
It depends on location.
Yeah,
compares to
yeah.
what? Yes. So in Arizona, so this property, I was very blessed that the Arizona PadSplit rep actually brought me this property, and because he knew I was looking. And so that's the first thing you got to do, right? You got to tell people what you want, what you're looking for, right? Because then there's the opportunity, and that's what happened here. I had been looking, and the rep he comes to me and he goes, are you only looking for creative deals, or are you open to cash deals? And I was just like, you know what? I will figure it out. Give me whatever you got. I will figure it out. And he gives me this awesome property. The fix and flipper bought it, totally renovated it, added the second kitchen, added the second laundry, added a fourth bathroom, put furniture in there and bedding, and sold it for 500,000 in Arizona with a pool, fully renovated, almost 3,000 square feet, fully furnished. You do not see that here. That is incredible. And it's a nice size lot as well. There's a huge front yard and backyard. Um, you don't see that here. 500,000 for that much space, and it's fully furnished and renovated.
Right.
Everybody who's buying in Arizona is like, oh my God. And that, just like I was like, I want this property. I want it now. I will, I will do whatever I have to do to get this property. But I know in other states, you could get, I don't know about 3,000 square feet, but you can get a decent sized
Yeah.
house for much less than that. So it just really depends on what your buy box is, right? That's
Mhm.
really where you have to start. If you know what your exit strategy is, that's going to help you determine what your buy box is. If you want PadSplit, then you're going to have to be where PadSplit is if you want PadSplit, because we've already talked about all the benefits of using PadSplit over somebody else. So you look to padsplit.com and they have their map of where all the properties are, where all the markets are. And then you can drill down on that and say, okay, maybe I want to be within 5-10 miles of that, not like right in
Right.
the center of it.
Mhm.
I want to be just around there. In Arizona, for example, if you look at PadSplit's site, it only lists Phoenix, but there are PadSplit properties in Mesa, Glendale, Peoria, Scottsdale. Like, we went out. We didn't just stay in Phoenix. We're in the suburbs as well, and it works
Right.
because we're still near transportation, work centers, shopping centers, schools, right? So you have to look at all those things to decide, are you going to narrow it down to certain zip codes or streets or whatnot? And then not less than 1,500 square feet, depending on the area. What's the plumbing going to be like? So for here, I don't want anything any older than the 70s because I don't want to deal with galvanized pipes that are going to burst. And then I have to try to
Right.
replace all that, right? So, and electrical is another thing. In the 70s is when Arizona went through that huge update in the electrical and the plumbing. So for here, I don't want properties that are older than the 70s, because I want that newer electrical and plumbing. How much rehab do you want to do to a property, right? There's going to be adding the rooms, right? Which I was fine with. I was like, oh, I can handle that. I can do that. But I will handle flooring and painting, but I don't want to have to deal with gutting something down to the studs and having to rebuild everything. That's way more than I want to take. So you have to think about what kind of reno you need to do to get it rent ready. And then there's adding the rooms, obviously, that goes with that. So that's the approach that I would take to get started on how you're going to build your buy box for this. And then of course it goes from there. You definitely want to try to avoid HOAs. You don't want properties that have shared
Yeah,
driveways.
yeah, we've
There's all those things. Yeah.
yeah, and that's another thing, the parking situation. You have to have plenty of parking for these 9 different people to be living in that house at the same time,
Right. Well,
unless they
so
all walk.
yes. So not everybody is going to have cars, but you definitely want to try to have enough for many of them. And then what's the plan for everybody else? So another thing that they say is watch out for properties on cul-de-sacs. Our property is on a cul-de-sac, but we're the second house in, so that's not too bad. We have 3 spots in our driveway, and then our property is big enough where we can fit 2 more in front of the house without any issues. So what we have in our house rules is that if there is no space in front of the house or in our driveway, you must park on the main street outside of the cul-de-sac. You are not parking in front of any of the neighbors' homes
Right.
because parking is the number one thing that neighbors will complain about.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get that.
If you maintain the property otherwise, it's clean. So our property looks as good, if not better, than every other house on that cul-de-sac. So
Right.
the only thing left, right, would be the parking part of it. And right now we're not fully occupied. One of our members does not have a vehicle. The other one has a motorcycle. So we were thinking about we've got enough space in our front yard and we don't have an HOA that maybe we'll make like a motorcycle pad or something there. So that way he's not taking up the 3 spaces in the driveway and he doesn't have to park like on the street. He could be more up in the yard, but we want to make that look nice, right? We still want to keep it where it's nice and clean and presentable. So that's on our wish list. At
Right.
some point we'll get something done for that. But yeah, parking uh if it's not a shared driveway, HOAs. I've heard some people be able to do pad splits with HOAs. Um, I think it really depends on the HOA. And then the problem is that could change. You really want to look at what the CCNRs are saying if you're considering
Right.
maybe you already have a property that is in an HOA that you're thinking about converting to a pad split. Read the CCNRs because the board members get elected in and out, right? So they might be relaxed not enforcing the stuff in the CCNRs. But
Right.
then when they get voted out and somebody gets voted in, now they might become a stickler and say,
Right.
no, we're going to enforce it. So read your CCNRs before you start adding walls and stuff. Because usually the HOA wants to approve any major architectural work, right? So you're going to add these walls, you're going to do stuff to the driveway. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
avoid it. I wouldn't do any HOA.
Try to avoid those as much as possible.
Yeah, we came into a situation to where they had this house that's for sale we were kind of interested in that had a land HOA. It wasn't an actual, the way the agent said it wasn't like an actual HOA, it was a land HOA for like landscaping. It was like $26 a month.
Yeah, it wasn't
Read those CCNRs. Don't trust the agent. They're
Yeah.
just trying to sell the house.
Oh, I know.
but we're not able to get the funding for that one anyway. So it was
Yeah.
over $1 million house.
Ooh.
Yeah, that one's
Yeah. Well, yeah, that might not have been good pad split fit. I don't know. Usually
yeah,
pad split. So this was a thing this was one of the biggest reasons why I wasn't gung ho originally for pad split because they originally said that they're really looking at C class neighborhoods.
right.
Um, for me, I just couldn't do it. I could not. I had my mindset on B class neighborhoods. I didn't want to be in C class neighborhoods. And so, especially if I'm buying them here and I plan on going to them, I don't know when, it's like,
Yep.
yeah, no, I'm not going to C class neighborhoods. So, um, so that was my first kind of turn off to it. And then Ellis was kind enough to say, well, no, it doesn't have to be in C-class neighborhoods. It's just, it really depends on who you're marketing to, right? So, if it's affordable housing, which is what we're really trying to solve here, then C-class neighborhoods make sense. I totally get that. And I'm
Right,
not telling anybody else not to do that. It just wasn't fitting for me, right? And so then I said, well, but not everybody, what about the people who travel? What about the people who just want to have the community feel? They don't want to be alone in an apartment or whatever.
right,
They're willing to pay a little bit extra. And he was like, yeah, exactly. Like you could be in a B class neighborhood as long as it's still close to transportation and work centers, shopping centers, then yeah, you're going to have people who want to be in a nicer neighborhood and willing to pay a little bit more for that nicer neighborhood. And
right,
so that's what ended up happening with our Glendale property. It's in a nice, clean neighborhood. Very, it's a B class neighborhood. It's a normal neighborhood. I don't have a problem going to that. I've been there at nighttime. I've been there in the early morning. It's quiet, it's clean.
right,
People care for it's older homes, but they still care for them, right? So maybe some of them have the weeds growing up a little bit more than others. It's not a luxury neighborhood, and I'm not trying to be in a luxury neighborhood. It's a middle class neighborhood, which is perfect for me. So yeah, PadSplit would be great for that. Now I know hosts who are transitioning from their vacation rentals into PadSplits. So vacation rentals usually are going to be in, that A, B class neighborhood, right? Because people want to go on vacation in a nice neighborhood with all the
right,
amenities and right. Now they have successfully transitioned their vacation rentals to PadSplits, and they've got professionals, single professionals that are renting these rooms long term. So it can work. It can. You
right,
just have to check it out, really know what's going on with that neighborhood. And then how are you decorating the home? How are you presenting it, right? And then the cool thing that PadSplit does is they're doing all of their marketing, but they don't care if you do your own marketing. If you do your own marketing on Facebook Marketplace, for example, and you're bringing people in, you actually can get a refer a friend type of discount.
right.
So you're not paying that full fee since you're the one who brought that person in. So yeah,
All right.
I
Well,
think I said a
we're
lot. Is this
running.
helpful?
This is very helpful, and
Yeah, it sure is. Thank you.
we're
Yeah.
running low on time because I
Oh.
didn't think to extend this past a 2 hour time frame.
Uh-oh. Yes.
Ta-da!
We did this last time, I think. We went
Right.
lots of good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, it's a lot
Well,
of
thank
great
you so much for
information.
having me.
Yeah, you've been a blessing to have on here, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, I
And
am happy to help.
I agree with him. I'm glad that I met you, and
Yeah,
hopefully we can I'd like to keep in touch, and
absolutely.
we can help
may-
each other.
and maybe somewhere down the road we can do some deals together. Who knows? So thank you.
Yeah,
We could
absolutely.
we could do them in Arizona because that's where she lives.
Right,
Oh yeah, for
That's why she could be
sure.
boots on. We could be partners and boots on the ground. She can do that.
Yep.
right,
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's my thinking. I want 12 properties by the end of December,
right.
and it's gonna have to be with partners. Right?
Well, we
If
can
you want to
be
scale, you got to
here.
find partners.
We volunteer.
Yeah,
All right. Awesome. Well, yes, let's keep the conversation going offline
right.
and
Right.
uh And yeah, we can certainly circle back. Any other questions that you have anytime, I'm happy
Right.
to
I
hop on
appreciate that
again and
very
do a part
much.
two or
Oh,
whatever
sure,
it
we
is.
can do
Yeah.
that as we go along. There could definitely be a part two, and I think there's a lot of people out there that would benefit from these
Yeah.
conversations.
Right.
Yes. Yes. You asked a lot of good questions for sure. All of this stuff, it took me a year to think of.
Right.
I poor Ellis, I kept asking it and I'm like, well, okay, let me think about that. Okay, now what? Now this. Like and I kept asking one question after another. So yeah, I think this is such a great idea
Yeah,
to
it
put
is.
this out there because people they're going to be thinking the same kind of things like, how does this work exactly? What does this do? Like, what should be my first step or whatever? And so,
I think you
putting this
filled
out
in a lot
there,
of those blanks.
I think you did too.
yes,
Yeah.
You really
yes.
explained everything to where I think that if anybody would have any questions, I don't know how they could really. But I mean, I'm sure they
There's always more, right? There's
right,
always more.
right.
You
There
Well,
know,
should be
as
part two.
if they have
yes,
any questions, you can ask them in the comments below and we'll get back
yeah,
to you.
absolutely, absolutely. And then I think I've got all my stuff here. I've got
Yep.
my Facebook, Instagram. It's Stephanie T as
Same
in
as us.
Tom, and then FC. And yeah, I've got my YouTube channel as well. Make sure I link to this when you guys get it posted.
Right.
And let's stay in touch. Let's see what we can do with
Yeah.
this.
And we're at James and Shelley Wren, no matter what social media you're on. That's what we're at.
Perfect.
Makes it
Thanks for
easy.
having me. Have a
Yeah,
great day.
you too.
You too. Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.